and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today on this day, I have the pleasure of sitting down with a gentleman by the name of Anthony Rucker, also known as the Boogie Man. He is a poet, spoken word artist, and psychologist, and we're going to hear in a minute about how he combines all of that together. But first and foremost, sir, as I always do, I take a quick moment to pause, say thank you to you for making time for me today. You made a lot of time for me before. Time is a gift. Once we give it, we can't get it back. So I truly appreciate you setting aside this time in your day to sit down and chat with me. And with that, sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And you're welcome. Appreciate the offer and the opportunity.
Thank you. And a quick shout out to my girl, Patty, for setting things up.
Pat.
Over at Ultimate Connections. She is truly a blessing. So we have been chatting and just, gabbing beforehand, but let's get into the real meat of why we are here together. Let's talk about you, the poet, spoken word artist, and also, as I said, psychologist. So let me start off with what came first, the chicken or the egg? Was you doing the poetry thing or was you doing the mental health thing?
Poetry. But I started writing poetry in 5th grade.
And
then it kind of caught on, and then I did it privately, but then my mother used to steal my work and publish it and stuff. And people like, that's a dope poem you wrote. I'm like, I write no poem. They're like, your mama said you did. I'm like, nah, you been in my poetry.
Hercules.
Hey, and her thing was, you wasn't gonna do nothing with it. I'm just like, because it's private. That's like my diary. Yeah. So what happens is, as I got into hip hop and I was rapping, and we messed up like 4 record contracts. I'm like, I'm not rapping no more. I'm just going right back to poetry. But I only believed in the recitation. I was like, knew the academic thing. And this was before poetry, slams, all that. Where you get up, you just say your poetry. And that was it. And the only reason I was doing that is because some people convinced me to put together a book. And I put together a book. Well, actually, I didn't. My people actually put together my book and gave it to me. Then they said, do something with it. I didn't do, and they sold it. So I'm like, okay. And then my boy sold the book. I'm like, how'd you do it? He said, I let him read it. And then they wanted to buy it. So I would only recite poetry to get people to buy it. I wasn't interested in performing. And then it just turned into a beast. Like I got down with a group called Black Poetic Society in Cleveland. Then I got into the poetry slams. Then I won on the Apollo. Then I recorded with Lionel Richie. And it just literally took on a life of its own, but literally I only performed just to sell books. I wanted to be an author, you know what I'm saying? And I was making books. And so it just turned into, it went from a personal love and a calling into a career. And a career path. So, it's like James Baldwin said, they said, how'd you find writing? He said, I didn't find writing. I stumbled upon writing and it found me.
Gotcha. Awesome.
So, that's it. So and literally just poetry took over. And it's because of just offers and people like, I'll pay you to do it. And I'm like, okay.
Same man. We ain't gonna turn down no cash. Okay?
Hey, you can perform here. You can do here. So I've been to Europe, Canada. I've done poet in residencies. I've lectured every place from community college to Harvard and Yale.
Awesome.
All over the place. So literally it just took on a life of itself. But then in college, I got into mental health. And again, I got through the back door. One of my friends was working at a group home and he had a big brother, little brother program. So he wasn't recruiting anybody. He came to the school, came to the crew like, y'all all now have little brothers. We're going to meet them. Y'all going to decide. Like what I said, because we start this program and I'm not looking for people. I want people I know. So literally everybody in the crew in the Culture Center ended up with a little brother. And we would interact with the center. And afterwards, I was like, yo, man, I want to work there. Because I really love the big brother, little brother thing. So from that point on, I've always done poetry and mental health. I went from a child care worker at one place. I taught preschool. I worked in actually a mental deficit place for children. It was like little locked psychiatric unit for children. I actually ran a unit at a girls' home, for parenting and non-parenting girls. And so I always was doing them in tandem. I never stopped doing mental health. Even when I was living as an artist, making money, I still did it. It was a love. So yeah, they just kind of melded together.
Okay, okay. So now that you've been doing this for a minute, how would you say the two kind of correlate, interplay, connect with each other, the poetry and the mental health?
This is gonna sound bad. Poets are gonna be like, no, he didn't. Poets have always been unlicensed psychologists. We think we know everything. We think we know how the world works. We know what's up and down. We know who was before God, after God, the universe, the stuff. It went natural because that's what we do. I mean, listen to poetry. We pontificate about stuff that we ain't got no idea about knowing. But we swear we do because we intuited it through our spiritual minds and our poetic talents. So it went just well. I mean, the only thing I'm doing now is I'm doing it legally.
Mm-hmm.
I can charge people for it and they can use their insurance. Before you had to just use your pocket money to pay entrance to the venue or buy my book. But they go together.
They go together.
And when I tell poets that, I say, we just unlicensed psychologists anyway.
Reminds me of, when you go to the donut shops or out the front of the liquor store, you always see the old brothers sitting out there. They know everything. They got the answer to, the crime. They got the answer to the politics. They got the answer to, and don't know Nathan, but.
Be talking about mathematical theory, like the Fibonacci series. See, it turned like this, and see, it's 5 of them over here and 6 of them over here. That makes it 11. Then you do the circumference, and then you get the next number. And it sounds so sweet, you believe it. You be like, really?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Okay.
You go get a math book to try to verify, like, no, that's not what homie said on the corner. This book is wrong. It's supposed to be a circumference and a circle, and we're like that.
My people, we have a way. We have a way with us. It don't get.
And my people, poets. So do we.
So tell me about the showtime at the Apollo. Is the crowd as brutal as? You're
gonna get me in trouble.
Is it as brutal as?
It's more brutal than you think.
Yeah.
They would boo the children if they allowed them. Some people actually booed the children when I was there.
Oh, not the babies.
Just the babies. And one time I was walking through, and the child got finished, everybody clapping. It was like I walked by a couple people who were booing. I said, "Don't boo that child." I said, "That child's up there doing the best they can." They said their mother or their father knew they wasn't talented when they got up there. And they didn't want us to boo them. They should have brought them up. I said, it's like, I don't want them to send the wrong message thinking they talented. If your mama put you up there, you should know that you ain't talented like that. And I mean, that literally, I said, so they were like, I talked to people, they're like, oh, we wouldn't get in trouble, we boo the children. I was like, y'all some heartless folks.
Oh my goodness.
But they boo. I almost didn't go on stage because they tape shows right after the other, right?
Okay.
So it was this dude down, and it was like the green room was downstairs. Okay. We walked downstairs. I don't know if they moved it, but downstairs. And then there's monitors, so you can watch, but you can't really hear anything because it, reverberates. I don't know if the sound on that, but we're watching, right? But it was this dude who, and before all the show started, he was blowing. He was like, oh, I'm like, I'm glad I'm not on his show. You know what I'm saying? He did it, and he got up there and got nervous.
Oh no.
And the thing about it, when I say he could blow, he could blow.
Oh.
But he got nervous and he hit one note in the beginning. And they started booing and he was shook from there. So what we see on the monitor, we see people boo, we see the Sandman come down, right? Now we downstairs. We see the dude come down the stairs. He walks past us because we're facing the monitor, walks past us, gets over to the corner, falls on his knees and starts crying. I'm like, I ain't going up there. like, I ain't going up there. And the guy was like, you're on the show, you're part of the queue because you don't have the queue card set up for Steve Hardy. You're going up there. I said, I ain't going up. I said, you see that? I ain't going up there. The dude said, one of the production assistants, like, you going up there. So then it was like they finished taping that show and we were the next show. They told everybody to line up, sat my behind right over there like this. And then you hear them counting like 1, 2, 3. There's an act missing. who's the act? You know, he looks down and he recognized my name. He said, get your butt up here. I'm just like, I told you I ain't going. He said, get over here. I got up there and then he said, I ain't walking upstairs. He said, you walking upstairs too. And I got to say, I ain't going out on stage. He said, when they call your name, you better walk out. I'm like, you can't make me. I'm black, I'm free.
Killers.
Man, Joe, they only give you a couple seconds
to hit it.
And I almost got booed. But I don't know if they edited it out because I came up there and I was nervous. And maybe it was only I who could hear it.
Okay.
Because it was like in the front. But if you see me, I get up there and go like this. When I got to, I heard somebody in front, boo, boo, and I just went into the poem. I was like, oh, hell no, I ain't going out like that. You gonna let me say something first. But I heard people booing because I was taking too long. I was like, dang.
Can I get a moment to process everything?
Oh, yeah. So when you talking about, are they that means? That's an understatement.
Ooh.
Them folks, when they say you got to prove yourself in New York, they ain't joking.
Ooh.
And when I came down, they said, okay, man, you said you from Cleveland. But they literally said this, ain't nothing that dope coming out of Cleveland. So where you from originally?
Get out.
I said, I'm from Cleveland originally. Or if you don't want to tell us, don't tell us. But yeah, man, you probably from New York and you was trying to hide it. But literally, people told me I couldn't be from Cleveland. So not only did they try to boo me before I said something, then they told me my city was Jake and told me that I couldn't be from that city and be dope because nothing dope comes out of Cleveland. I was like, if I wasn't outnumbered, you know, we'd have something to say. But, you know, it's a whole lot of you New Yorkers in here.
Say,
I
I
seem
ain't
to
gonna
have
take
real
y'all
bad
long.
attitudes.
I ain't gonna
But they literally told me, they were like, nothing dope comes out of Cleveland. I was like, dang.
Just gonna slice and dice me. Okay, all right.
And then they said, you know what? So we're just gonna make you an honorary New Yorker.
I gave
I
you
was
the
like,
Timbs.
I have on nothing. I had on a pair of shoes, jeans, and a little hoodie. They said, we're just gonna make you an honorary New Yorker because you can't be from Cleveland. I was like, hot dog. All right, then. You know, I'm outnumbered. I know when to shut up, know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
That's right. We're gonna be a New Yorker today. We're gonna be a New Yorker today. So what is when it comes to being a spoken word artist, what is it like the most challenging complex? Is it the venue? Is it the crowd? Because we were talking about that. Well, what's the most complex issue there?
Well, first I want to delineate. I don't call myself a spoken word artist. The spoken word is just whatever you say. I'm a poet.
Okay.
But there are factions that break up.
Okay.
So initially it was performance poetry. Then it became spoken word because the two factions will say, you know, it's about the performance. The other one says it's about the artwork and the content.
Okay.
So as some people will say, spoken word artists aren't real poets. And, you know, and it says spoken word artists say we're poets. We just do stuff different. So I never identified myself as a spoken word artist because I'm just a poet. And then I pick what I can perform.
Okay.
But I'm not a performance poet because I don't write for performance. And I don't write for slam. I write, and then whatever I can translate into it, I'll perform. But I just wanted to let you know there is a schism between poets and spoken word artists. But I go, you know, you can call me either, but how I identify myself is I'm a poet who performs is poetry. But the toughest piece, wow. I think it's a trifecta.
Okay.
Because, and I'll just use current climate. You could have a great poem about the Black Panthers, but if you go to a MAGA rally, that ain't gonna hit. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You could have a great poem about Trump, but you go to the NAACP meeting, that ain't gonna hit. Mm-hmm. So it's not so much the crowd, it's about knowing what you're coming into.
Gotcha. Okay.
And doing it because you can literally write a magnificent piece. But if you're among a crowd that don't want to hear that, you're not going to care. Mm-hmm. So the hardest part, and I would say is the crowd, is being able to read the crowd. Gotcha. And then some people are like, well, I'm not catering to people. I'm like, so let me get this right. They paid their money to come in, but you don't have to do anything that they enjoy. Mm-hmm. Is that how you do it with your money?
Thank you.
You go to the restaurant and they give you what you want based on what they want to cook you, not what you want to eat. Mm-mm. Or if you go to you know, a concert and you pay to see Luther, they put up Freddie Jackson because, you know, we want you to listen to Freddie Jackson instead. I paid for a Luther concert.
Thank you.
You see what I'm saying? And so what happens is a lot of poets get, you know, spoken word artists get self-righteous. Like, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, that's like going to a Christian church and doing a Muslim poem.
Yeah.
It might be a tight poem.
Wrong crowd.
And so that's it. It's reading the crowd and knowing what to present. And not in a way that you compromise yourself, because we're all human. And I'm not, you know, I'm not one of those people, we bleed all the same blood, so we all the same people. No, we bleed the same blood, but we are different people and we get treated different.
That's right.
But then there are certain things that are common among everybody. I don't know a racist who wants to be poor, or racist who wants to be unhappy, or racist who wants to be sick. You know what I'm saying? I don't know a racist who wants to be without love and family. True. So I don't have to get up there and cater to your racism, but I still can do a poem about love, family, success that you're gonna jive with, and we cool. Gotcha. And so that's the hardest part, reading it. And the second hardest part is having a wide enough range of material where you can actually reach an audience no matter where you go. Because a lot of artists are not versatile.
So has that happened where you're at a gig and you kind of have to realize, wait a minute, what I had prepared, I got to switch this up real quick? That actually happens?
Yeah, okay. It happens all the time. And the only time I don't change it is when I'm in an ornery mood. And I'm thinking like, okay, you need to hear this, and this is in my spirit. I've gotten thrown out of some classy joints. I've got thrown out mid-poem. This is his last poem, and we don't want to hear anything repeated. And get out. Because I came there knowing that my message was going to be abrasive to them.
Okay.
But I felt in my spirit that not being abrasive would allow them to be comfortable in a state that I found offensive. Okay. And that I was uncomfortable with being in there. So I'm like, if you overtly going to show me that you don't like Black people, I'm going to overtly show you how Black I am. Okay. Now it's different if it's just one of those things where it's just like, it's there. These are people just there who happen to have these beliefs. But when that permeates the air and the atmosphere to the point where I'm feeling uncomfortable or feel like not that I shouldn't say it, that I can't say it, then we're going to see. But if it's just an open mic crowd and it's like, you know, the drunk crowd instead of the, you know, the up and coming bumpy yuppie crowd, I'll do that. If it's the bumpy yuppie crowd and not the, you know, the ruckus crowd, if it's a Black crowd, if it's a, you know, I love you crowd, if it's a heartbreak crowd, I'll do that kind of stuff because I understand that's just what you went to. But I won't do anything to cater to anything that I think is offensive. But you know, it's about doing that. But you have to have the material to do it. But there's been times when I came in, it's like, if I do this poem, people are gonna be like, what the hell is he saying? This is not the crowd for that. Let me ding and switch it up.
So why, I guess I'm a little confused, but if somebody knows the type of product that you deliver, why would you be booked someplace that is not receptive to what you deliver?
Oh, because people believe that the customer's always right. And so people will get hired and go in and do what's expected of them. I do what I want. Okay. And some people don't believe that. I had one place give me a check for $2,000, promised me a stellar recommendation, but promised me and made me promise I would never come back. And I said, but I got the kids writing this, that, and the other, like, but not what we wanted them to write about. You got them writing about their family and their fathers and their mothers and the hate and the pain. You're supposed to get them to write about nature and happy things. I said, they ain't happy. And I'm not going to do a misservice to the children.
Yes.
So literally, they thought I was going to come in there. They knew my thing. They knew the Apollo, all the stuff. And they thought I was going to come in there because this is a middle-class school. Okay. That's giving me some good money. Okay. That I was going to come in there, do my little tap dance,
Step and fetch it show. Step and fetch it show.
I got the kids to write about being happy in America and loving their families. I'm like, no, I got them kids to write about what they were emotionally experiencing.
Yeah.
And they did not like it, but they did. And he told me, that's not what I expected you to do. I'm just like, okay. And so people start learning. But when I go places, you're paying for my artistic expression unless you specifically ask different. So in other words, say it's Women's History Month. And like, we are talking about, this is a thing to celebrate women. This is a celebration of women. Then I'm reasonably expected, once I do it, to come there and celebrate women. That's like, okay, I'm hiring you for a specific work or cause. Okay, I got that.
Gotcha.
But if you say, hey, we want you to come and do an hour set, you know, your choice, you get what I present.
Yeah.
And if you tell me you want something specific and I agree to it, I give it to you. Otherwise, you get what I get. But a lot of people think that I'm going to cater to whatever it is they expect. But I'm not like other poets. When I feel an uncomfortable spirit and I don't like it, I shake it up on purpose. It wasn't like I didn't know I was going to get thrown out of those joints. Just didn't care.
I'm going to do what I came here to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then that leads into my next question, sir. Why the name the Boogie Man?
That was my hip hop name. That's my MC name.
Okay.
I was in the breaking crew, but I didn't break. I popped and locked. And then I started rapping. Okay. That was my name. And the thing about it is, you know, especially when you're Black, you have a nickname. You got people whose nickname, you know, you don't know their real name, you know them for 30 years. They'd be like, Thomas, Thomas Boogaloo. Oh, Boogaloo's real name is Thomas? You're like, I know that dude for 30 years, didn't know his real name. So my name in all the circles was Boogie. That was just my name. Oh, and it wasn't, and even after because when you get an MC name, it just follows you. Yeah. I mean, think about this. We watched Law and Order and it says Ice-T, Ice Cube. Yeah. Like, these are 50-year-old men still going by Ice-T and Ice Cube. It's just how the world knows it. Yeah. So what happens is, when I left rapping and said, I'm just going to do poetry, they said, well, Dawn, man, that's terrible because now you got to get rid of your name. I'm like, why? They said, you can't be a poet named the Boogie Man or Boogie. You got to go by your real name. I'm like, Negro, half these people don't know my real name. I'm like, I've been Boogie for 20 years. I'm like, and I'm not going to stop being Boogie. They're like, you're going to be a poet named the Boogie Man. Like, yes. And believe me, it did cost. Really? Oh, yeah. But it also paid off. Because what happened is, you know, the Apollo was a timed show, right? So what y'all didn't see is when I went on the Apollo, Steve Harvey introduced me like a question, but then you saw us talking. Okay. They edited out literally about a 15-minute stand-up he did on my name. He clowned me for so long, I was afraid to go. I was like, I just knew I lost. Man, he was like the Boogie Man. So is it Boogie? The Boogie? Is it the Man? Or you just go by Man? And I'm just like, I'm sitting up here like, oh, Jesus. And I mean, like, Steve Harvey can be really funny or he can be really off sometimes. Yeah. That Joker did me. It was the best stand-up everything he's done. It was some of the best stand-up. Off the cuff, he rang me so much the whole auditorium was laughing at me, the entire Apollo. And I'm just like, Jesus, I don't stand a chance. And you see my head down like this. He said, where are you from? I'm like, Cleveland. He said, Cleveland? Oh, now I like you, dog. And then all of a sudden, that's the part that you see. Okay. But he went off for 15 minutes. I'm about to say, it felt like a half hour. Yeah. But he went off, I mean, it literally, and I ain't talking about like a minute or two. He did a whole I was just like, really?
That got the crowd to relax before you came in, though. That got the crowd to relax before you came in, though.
Well, the crowd comes down. Then when he said my name, he just went off, and they were just in it. But then when I said I was from Cleveland, he said, where from? I'm like, 105 in Superior. He said, oh, now I really like you, because he's from that area. Gotcha. Then we started talking about local stores and stuff. He said, all right, this is my man, the Boogie Man. So it went from, who is this fool with this dumb name, to this is my boy from Cleveland. And so people would literally introduce me like questions. They'd be like, the Boogie Man? Like they would say my name like I wasn't real. Like I wrote it down and it was a mistake. And they'd be looking to see the real name. I'm like, no, that's the name.
Mm-hmm.
And so it cost me a lot, in as far as like, pseudo embarrassment, because I wasn't embarrassed because I knew from even hip hop days, the Boogie Man was not. I was the first person I'd ever seen, famous or not, who called himself the Boogie Man.
Mm.
And so people were like, the Boogie Man? And who do you think you are? And so it would just go.
Mm.
But it also got me with Lionel Richie.
Okay.
Because,
that happened. Yeah.
Because he was working on his album Time when I was on the Apollo. So he said that he'd lock himself away. So I think he was in a hotel room or something, and he was taking a break and he was flipping through channels, right? And then he saw the Apollo, and he was like, and he was about to change the channel. And then Steve Harvey introduced the Boogie Man. And then Lionel said, so I heard about you all my life. So I wanted to see what you look like. He's clowning me. And then he said, so when you came out, I was like, oh, this is a normal looking brother. I didn't have to be afraid of you after all. This is a real conversation he's having. Like, he clowning me. So I'm just like, okay. And then I was about to change the channel. And then you said you were about to do poetry. And I'm like, a brother named the Boogie Man that does poetry? Mm. He said, I had to see this. And he said, and you won. Mm. And after that, I was like, I'm going to keep watching to see what you do. And he said, you kept winning. Then he said, after that, I decided that instead of getting a popular or known rapper, I wanted you to do a duet with me. And so I did a duet on his album Time called To the Rhythm. And literally, it was my name that got him to stop. He said, he's about to change the channel till he heard my name. Then when he heard I was doing poetry, he said, I got to see this. But it was a spectacle type thing. It wasn't a respect type thing. So yeah,
Let me guess, what piece did you perform on that first time on the Apollo? Do you remember?
It Takes a G.
Okay.
But I did 3 different poems. I'm an outlier. I just press. They're like, you have to do the same poem because everybody have to do the same song. I'm like, I want to do it. I'm like, I don't respect myself as an artist. I went on my spiel. Okay, you can do another. So I did the second show. Then the third one, they said, no, you got to repeat one of the ones you did before. It's not fair. But yeah, I did 3 different poems on the Apollo.
Oh, okay. So you have to repeat. What? I'm thinking about it now. Yeah, I guess you do have to repeat. Yeah.
Because this is the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
You got 5 people on there, right? They can do 5 shows. Mm-hmm. If each of them has a song apiece, that's 25 songs that the band has to learn. Mm-hmm. Depending on who wins.
Gotcha.
So since the band is playing, they were like, you do 1 song, and that's why they sing the same song every week, because the band had to play behind them. And the thing about it, in the season, you might have 50 people.
Gotcha, makes sense.
And you're talking about 5 songs, that's 250 songs they got to learn.
Gotcha, makes sense now. Okay.
So it's just 1 song. So they said, to be fair to the other people, you got to do the same poem over again. Okay. So the 3rd time and then the 4th time, I did what I wanted to. Okay. But yeah, so it was, like I said, I'm an outlier. I just push stuff. I don't care. I was taught that you get more by not asking. Just make them tell you no.
Just make them tell you no. I'm gonna do it till you say no. Okay, amen.
Yeah.
Well, let me get into your books because I'm running out of time here.
Okay.
And the latest book, when I read saw the cover, I was like, that's my dude right there. So you have a book that you recently put out that is a tribute to a very profound, very prolific writer himself. Tell us more about that book and what was the motivation behind that book, because that's my dude right there.
The book is entitled Dear James, and it is a book. But let me get personal. James Baldwin, ever since I started reading his work, I felt like he knew how to speak for me. Mm. And he talked to me at the same time.
Yes.
Which is real strange, speaking for you and to you. Mm-hmm. And, it's sometimes you just want to point like, this is what I'm talking about. What he said here. I'd be saying, what you think? What he said. Mm-hmm. So And so I really got into James Baldwin. And I can say without a doubt, he's my favorite author.
He's amazing.
And so I always think of, even in my practice, I use one of James Baldwin's quotes when I deal with adults. The one that says, children have always children have always had difficulty listening to their parents, but they've never failed to imitate. Mm. And so I use that to say, listen, no matter what you say, they're going to do what you do. And so I was doing a poem a day thing with one of my mentors. And for one of the poems, I just had a James Baldwin quote rolling around in my head. So I prefaced it with that and I wrote it. And it was real cathartic. So then I said, you know what? Let me get another one. And I have a book of famous James Baldwin quotes. I have his books and stuff. So I did another one. Then I did another one. And it was like, I was working out stuff about today too, which is so prolific because it was before this time when everybody say all times are different. Read James Baldwin. You find out they ain't that different. You know, and so I looked up and I had a whole bunch of stuff. I'm like, oh, this looks like a book. I was like, and so, but I kept going. I'm actually working on Dear James too, because I just stopped because I didn't want to over inundate it with quotes and this, that, and the other. But it's literally James Baldwin's quotes and me responding to them, and the conversation matter to it. So every poem is preceded by a James Baldwin quote, except the first one, which is an open letter to James. And that's it. And I was just like, and I wanted to be about him. So I licensed pictures for the book because I wanted to have his picture in the book because I wanted people to see him. And it's the different stages. Has him in Paris, have him a little bit older, has him writing, all in the book. It's like 4 or 5 pictures of him in there at different stages of his life because everybody sees him as an old dude with a cigarette. But you see on the corner, you got his pimp daddy on in Paris. And then you have one with this pinstripe leaning against the wall looking like this. I'm like, look at my man.
Cool, bro.
Yes, but yeah, so I've always respected James Baldwin. And it's like this. I tell people, I love King, I love X, but if I had to choose one person to speak for me, out of all 3 of them, I choose James.
Yeah.
Hands down.
I recommend anybody just check some of like his old interview footage and just watch him give some interviews. I mean, and just, you know, to see the way his mind churns and processes. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I mean, just an amazing cat, amazing cat.
So yeah, that's how it is. And I'm actually doing a play in June.
I was going to ask you, so do we get an opportunity to see you perform pieces from the book? So
I wrote a whole play to it.
Okay.
So it's Dear James, the play. Is slated to start. Actually, we work for doing the finalizing of it now. Slated to run June, the first 4 weeks of June on Saturday out in Long Beach, California. And I actually secured Charles Reese, who is known internationally for being James Baldwin. He's not going to physically be in the play, but we're filming him as the spirit of James Baldwin. So we're going to interact with that off screen. Well, he's going to be on screen, but he's not going to physically be there.
Okay.
And we're actually shooting that tomorrow.
All right.
And but it's Dear James, a play. It's a multimedia interaction thing. I break the fourth wall all the time. Like I said, I'm just ignorant. I don't care. And the play, and the reason I wrote the play is because I see our people get dismissed when we bring up our concerns all the time. And it's not that they're being inaccurate. They're just not skilled enough to articulate it in a way where that it doesn't get dismissed by the spin doctors. And with my training and my ability and my experience, I can change that. And so this play is written to white folks in specific, but to America in general, but for Black folks. So in other words, I don't think no matter your station as a Black person in life, even if you're like, there is no racism, I don't think that you'll be able to look at this play and say, there's nothing in here that doesn't speak to me and for me. This was my mic drop moment. This is, you're going to understand this. You're going to see it fully and clearly, and you will no longer have the illusion or the excuse of ignorance.
Mm.
When you see this, it's going to clearly lay out the problem. And it's going to clearly lay it out, but in the spirit of James, which is the part I fought. Because, you know, James, he cut America, but he loved America.
Mm.
And so it was that satin fist.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it feels so smooth, and then it scratches you. You're like, oh, wait, whoa.
Yeah.
And so I talked to him in this, because one of the poems, one of his statements is like, to be a Negro in America and relatively conscious is to be enraged almost all the time.
All the time.
And he said to be enraged, but he said almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And my poem starts off, almost? Like, how you do almost? Like, I've been trying to get to almost. Right now, I'm at all the time. You know? and so we having this conversation, because like some of it, I'm like questioning him, like, all right, dude, you gotta tell me how you got here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what it is. But my play doesn't answer any questions.
Mm-hmm.
It poses the questions, and it leaves you to the point where you have no choice but to answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told him, but I said, you know, in this day, you got to see it before they ban it. Like, it'll never make it to Florida.
Oh, no.
DeSantis, whatever his name is, he'd be at the airport waiting for me, like, no, Negro, you got to go back. You cannot come
They
in.
just pulling stuff out the library and everything. Like, okay.
Put it this way, this is probably going to be the most loving and scathing art piece ever put out about America.
But that's the responsibility of creative or art, is to challenge people, to make
That's what
people
James said,
think.
to disturb the peace.
Yes, that is the responsibility of any creative art form, you know. So, I mean, hey, you know, if you don't like it, go home and you know, process why you don't like it. I mean, that's an area in your psyche that you need to process, you know.
Yeah, like I said, I know when I'm getting thrown out of places. I don't care. But this needs to be said, like, the people who've been privy to it, like the person who's doing some directing for me, the person who's doing the artwork for me, because they have to see the context. They're like, man, I can't wait to see how this comes. Like, they're like, okay, this is gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
I was just like, I know, it's gonna be one of them things. You know, actually, it's funny. I'm giving a little spoiler alert away. It's at one point where it's so scathing. I say, this is the point where I decided I was going to give a break for anybody who wants to walk out. But then I decided I'm not giving you a chance. You're just gonna have to walk out.
Suck it up. Suck it up. Just suck it up. You're gonna.
Because I did. I was like this, and I put it because I'm like, at this point, people are gonna be ready to go. And I said, I'm gonna put it in the thing. I said, you know what? I'm gonna do what I normally do. This is the point where I was about to give you a break to walk out. But don't get up, because I'm not.
No intermission. No intermission.
No intermission. You just gonna sit through it. And I'm like, because I decided that I just didn't want to give you a break. You're gonna get up and walk, just get up and walk out while I'm performing. But literally, that's how I felt. That's what kind of piece this is.
Okay.
It's an unapologetic. What did Nina Simone say when she was singing Young Gifted and Black? She said, white people, this is not a protest song. It simply ignores you.
Yeah.
And this is not a protest song, but it is written for you.
Yeah.
But it's not written to make you feel good or cajole you, but it's not even written to condemn you and to make you feel bad. This is written to give you a clear and undeniable understanding of our experience in this country, to the point where you can't hide behind ignorance.
Yes.
Or lack of knowledge anymore. When you see this, if you don't go read about Black people, you don't care. If you see this and you don't actually question yourself and the position you play in this country, then you just don't care. And at that point, it's cool. Like I said, I like skinheads better than I like the Klan, because at least they show their faces and live by what they do. I just don't appreciate cowards. Yeah, but you're about to say something. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. You know, we have you know, a lot of white folks who like to say, well, you know, that was 400 years ago. That I had nothing to do with that. Why am I still being held accountable for that? I had nothing to do with that. And I'm like, you got a minute for us to sit down and break this all down for you? You're still accountable, because you're still reaping the benefits. You're still reaping the rewards of you know, what was said up 400 years ago. But you know what it
But
seems
see, the
like.
thing about it is, again, that's a subjective argument because there's some white people say, I don't benefit from being white like that because of this, that, and the other. But I challenge that too. I answered that, but I answered in a totally different way.
Mm.
I addressed that in the play where people talking about they didn't benefit in this, that, and the other. Like, okay, come to the play. I guarantee you ain't hear my argument before. And you just sit and listen to it. And I'm gonna wait to hear what you got to say. But I'm not putting it out because it'll give too much of the play away.
Yeah, so
but
wait till June.
Yeah, but I challenge everything. And the thing about it, as a therapist, you're not allowed the luxury of common or everyday arguments because people come prepared for those. We're supposed to be skilled listeners and responders, which means we're supposed to be able to listen and then give a skillful response that's going to shake you or move you into thought or into a thought at least, or out of the dysfunction at best, which means we have to be very, very particular in our arguments. And we can't allow the luxury of things that you have pat answers for.
True.
And so all I did, when you talking about how it meant, I put on, I'm like, okay, this is how I'll say it as me. How would I say it as a therapist? Now, what's the middle ground on this? Okay. So this is a therapy session. Okay. I guarantee you, it's like people they're either going to love it or they're going to hate it, or some people will be like, I don't get it. But the people who say I don't get it are going to be the people who don't want to deal with the subject matter.
You're going to see a whole bunch of people squirming in their seats. When you look around, be like, oh, okay, you're a little uncomfortable, huh?
And I interact with them too.
Okay.
I interact with the crowd. Like I told you, the fourth wall doesn't exist. Okay. If you come to this play, you're going to be part of it.
Okay. All right. June. Okay. Coming up on June. Okay. We're going to have to check that out. So we have 4 weeks of that?
Yeah. 4 weeks. And the thing about it is because it's a small theater and the thing about it is all of the funding and everything is coming from me. So this is just the initial to get it out.
Okay.
And then get some press to come in. Okay. You know, I really want to get some black press to come in and review it for the people. Because like I said, this is 2 white folks, but it's for us. Okay. So it's for both people to see, but for 2 different reasons. Gotcha. And so I want to do it. And then afterwards, then, you know, there's plans to take it, of course, to Cleveland, where my hometown is. But then after that, based on the reception and the people I can get involved with it, you know, as far as press and stuff, because that's not my thing, but this is my love child. Gotcha. You know, but once I get people come in, and I'm letting you know, if you sponsor and you ain't got nothing to say, you just paying for the play. I'm letting you know.
Be like, back to the wait, we didn't want to be part of that. Whoa, we didn't know it was going to be that deep. Like, whoa.
Oh, serious, because I tell people, like, if you come for me, you are paying to support me, not for me to care about what you think about what I'm doing. Gotcha. Okay. So I'm just saying, if y'all talk to people like, oh, I like that, I'm a sponsor, you understand, I'm not changing not one word. I don't care what your audience is or who you lose money from. If you pay, you are paying into my dream and my desire. That's right. To say this word. And if you ain't serious about it, pull your money, because there will be a no refund clause. Because I'm putting that in for anybody who does. Like the content is the content, and you are paying to support the content. Therefore, if you pull out, you will not get a refund because you knew what you were getting to in the beginning. And so with that, I just got to see, you know, it's like Spike Lee doing Malcolm X. You had to pull a whole lot of friends and money in this. So that's what I'm doing. So we're doing it for 4 weeks. Okay. And then based on the response and everything, we're going to book it other places, and, you know, and then, you know, maybe extend it at the theater. But, you know, it's going to depend on the response. Like, I got a good response so far where a lot of people are planning to come, even make field trips flying in to see it. Okay. But it's about sustaining it. And I'm real cool about, not about shortcomings or like, oh, you know, limitations like that. It's just unpractical. So I'm going to do it for that 4 weeks to build it up. But I do plan on doing this as a regular basis for a long time. Okay. But initially, it's going to be the 4-week run. Then that way, it doesn't give people excuses to, I'll see it later. You got 4 weeks. That's right. That's right. And then you don't know when it's coming out again. That's right. Okay. All right. So we have to keep abreast of that. I remember as a little girl, the first play my mother took me to, small setting for colored girls who have considered suicide when and just you can't beat that experience and that
the mental time bombs that just go off in your head when you're just watching live production like that. So go support, just, I mean, hey, it already seems.
But
Well,
I like to come back, like when we finally get everything, we start doing the advertisement.
okay.
I'd love to come back and do that. Make sure you get a ticket to come in.
I'm gonna pay. I believe I'm paying my way. So.
Oh, hey,
I might be in the back afterwards. Wait a minute. I know he's going. I want a refund. Can I get half? Wait a minute. You done hurt my feelings.
Like $750. No,
wait a minute. Hurt my feelings. Can I have my?
That look like rent, not a ticket. Yeah, no, I got you. But no, I was just saying, but I believe in rewarding. If I'm using your platform to do it, of course. But but if you're gonna pay, I ain't turning down nothing but my collar.
We gotta
go ahead.
We gotta support. We gotta support. Well, Mr. Boogie Man, and I'm gonna ask you my random question, and then I'm gonna ask you to tell people where they can pick up the books. And are you performing live anywhere soon, or besides the play? Besides the play.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So what's today? The 3rd, right? Mm-hmm. So the 8th, I'm performing in Victorville, California at Spoken Funk. Okay. It's a venue that me and some friends started 18 years ago. Okay. And it was the first major venue that I know of, recurring venue, that is dedicated to mixing comedy and poetry. So it always has a comedy act, a music act, and a poetry act. Okay. That's April 8th. April 12th, I'm doing this thing in Rialto called, it's like a poetry versus. And it's I forgot. This look on might give you my page. Okay. You'll be able to find it. But I'm doing that April 11th. And then I'm performing April 22nd at a poetry venue that we're putting together. So it's but I don't have it all in my head. I'm terrible with that. I'll give you my information where you can find me. You'll be able to get all that stuff.
All right, let me ask my random question, then we'll ask for the website and stuff like that. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got for the random question. What long shot have you taken that has paid off?
Poetry.
That was your mama taking a long shot, putting you out there, huh?
So what happened is the long shot was I was at Cleveland State University. Okay. I was in my junior year, one semester away from my senior year, double majoring in computer science and math. I was vice president of the National Technical Association, head of the special tutoring department, and I was 8 classes away from 2 degrees. And I left to be a poet.
Mama was heartbroken.
Mama thought I lost my mind.
I can see that. Heart attack for real.
Yeah, and literally, I just avoided it, and it was crazy because at the time I decided that I was getting a second job because, like I said, I was leaving that stuff, and I got offered an executive assistant position to a CEO of a tech company in like Palmer, Ohio, someplace, and then to teach preschool part-time unbenefited. And I chose preschool. People were like, what are you doing? What's your problem? Like, I need to be free to be able to do what I need to do. And I don't want to do this no more. And the thing about it, when I left, I was actually working on designing my own computer chip. Like I was doing mainframe architecture, numerical methods. I was like there because I was a computer science and math major, and I was in advanced placement science and math my entire life. Before I graduated high school, I finished college level calculus, the entire series, physics, chemistry. You know what I'm saying? So everybody thinking I'm gonna be next Bill Gates, I'm gonna be this. And then I said, you know what? I'm quitting. They're like, you the best programmer we know. I'm like, yeah, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna be an artist. Oh, quit joking. My mama like, you throwing your life away. Just like, well, thanks for the support.
I know, right?
But I was only planning on being an author. I wasn't planning on being a performer.
Okay.
I was planning on selling 1 million books, doing and being out. And that's what I thought was going to happen.
And here we are today.
But yeah, poetry was the long shot.
So how long did it take before you went back to school? Because you went back at some point, right?
I went back and I was confused
Okay.
because
It started growing
I
up.
went back initially to major in social work.
Okay.
I'm like, I want to do this. I'm an artist.
No.
And then what happened is I got married and I did all my school here because I was only literally like a couple classes away from a degree.
Okay.
But I hadn't finished my bachelor's. I came out to California and just some personal issues, family, mental health stuff, just blah, blah, blah.
Life be lifing.
Life be lifing. I walked away from my career to deal with family. But then when I started working jobs, I found out they paid normal money. And I
don't have normal issues.
Normal money to me was offensive. I'm like, literally, I was working 30 hours a week for a month, making less than I made an hour to stand on stage. Like, that ain't cool. No, because I was trying to do meaningless jobs because I was trying to revitalize the career and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And so I was like, no, I ain't doing this. So I went back to mental health. But in California, they're real litigious. They everything is about the law. So there was places like you have all the experience, but you don't have a degree. And I'm like, what does that have to do with something? I ran a unit at a girls' home. I worked in a psych unit for children. Most people don't even know those exist, where you got rubber walls and 10-foot barbed wire fences for kids. They're just like, no, we did, but we would lose our funding if they find out you didn't have a degree.
Yeah.
So I did a quick online thing, finished up my bachelor's.
Gotcha.
And then I did my doctorate and my master's. I mean, my master's and my doctorate, and start doing that. But it was like, that's the only reason I did it, because my career fell apart. Otherwise, I'd have done what I did before, and that's work in schools and do stuff. That's what I was doing in New York with poets and writers. I would go in, they would always have me with emotionally disturbed kids, get them to write poetry, put together, publish an anthology. Then I was working for the Police Athletic League doing the same thing. And so I did that to supplement my performances and stuff. When I came out to California, all of that died because there was school connections, educational connections, and then, family got to eat. I can't tell them, I'm a performance poet. We ain't eating sandwich today.
Eat this poem right here.
Yeah. This poem tastes good. You put some ketchup on it. And so what happens is, after that, marriage dissolves, everything comes, and I'm left with my first girlfriend. Poetry. And we didn't get along at first. That was an evil heifer there. She treated me bad. She's like, I ain't letting you write nothing. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. I thought we was better than that. I know I left you for another woman, but it's always been love. You always wanted to cheat on her with you. You know what I'm saying?
That crawl in the bed and she turned the cold shoulder her.
Oh yeah, poetry put me on the couch. I was like, but then after writing and finding a muse, I found my way back, because at one point there was only one person I could write poetry about. It was just a muse in my head, somebody who was remain unnamed. And it was just like, that was the only thing that I could write about. And then I felt trapped, because as a writer who made a living, I'm like, I shouldn't be tied to one muse.
Yeah.
But that actually helped me find my way back to poetry. And then I was like, wait a minute, I still can do this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. She ain't left me after all. And then next thing you know, people are like, hey man, you want to do this? Oh, wait a minute, you're who? Wait a minute. And the next thing you know, it just started snowballing again. Awesome. And I'm like, you know what? I miss it. I need to touch a stage. And so everything from there, just God blessed, put things in order to the point where I started meeting people like-minded. And here we are. But this wasn't planned. Yeah. Because at one point, I swore off poetry. They're like, what? I said, because if I'm not going to perform and I'm not going to write like that, then I can't partially do it, because it's like an addict. I won't be able to do it. So I literally was at one point deciding whether I was going to take up poetry again or never write or perform a poem again for the rest of my life. Because it had to be one or the other, because I couldn't mix them. Either I was going to end up doing this again on some level, or I wasn't. but I could not half step it. And so people are like, you can't quit. I'm like, do what I want to do. Like, nigga, I'm free. Lincoln said so.
Thank you. That's what they said. This is my relationship with poetry, not yours, you know?
Yeah, and so literally, I was at a point where I was maybe a couple of days away from getting rid of all my poetry and never writing or reciting a thing again. I was going to cold turkey.
Just like an addiction, huh?
Oh, poetry is an addiction for me. I'm a groupie for poetry. I'm a groupie for the word. Don't let me hear some good poetry. Hear a good poet. I'll buy your book. I'll buy your CD. I'll come see you perform. It ain't about competition. It's about poetry is my second church.
That's right. That's right. That's my therapy. That's it. And I like your story because, you know, one of the issues I have with the younger generation is they expect success and fame to happen overnight. But, you know, this is a long journey. This is ebbs and flows. You know, there's good days and bad days. And, you know, when you have a gift, it doesn't snap, crackle, pop overnight sometimes, you know. So I like that. Well, sir, I'm not going to take up any more of your day because I have been with you for an hour now, and I have to let you go.
Okay.
But we're gonna come back and do this again.
You got my info.
Yeah, and I need to check out this play because, you know, that's my dude there. That is truly true. I can put his interviews on repeat and just, you know, absorb him. So, you know, I'm gonna have to come and check out this play. But I just want to say thank you for sitting down with me and having conversation before and after, you know, and it's always nice to be able to sit down and just have dialogue with people because this world has you kind of like, you know, like I was saying earlier, like, is it me? You know, I don't know. But where did everything change? So it was just so refreshing to have a conversation with somebody that said, "Oh, you're not crazy yet. You might be on the bench, but you're not there yet." So
we don't use the C word in mental health. We don't call people crazy.
I'm calling myself crazy because I want to self-identify as.
Hey, as I would say in therapy, okay, you can refer to yourself as that, but I'm not going to join you. Because some people will be like, I sound stupid. I said, that's what you said. I'm not going to say that.
I want to self-identify as. Anyways, all righty, dear. But anyways, thank you for your time. Much success to you. And
thank you.
Just keep on pulling the wool off of people's eyes and, you know, making them take that spoonful of castor oil as our grandmothers used to give us, you know. So.
And let me give my info so you can reach me.
That's right. Yeah, the website.
You can reach me at The Boogie Man, DABOOGIEMAN 216.com is a website. And then on Facebook and Instagram, it's just The Boogie Man 216. I have a link tree on there, but you can get all of my books except one at a place called thebookpatch.com.
Okay.
I was like, people like, you got to go on Amazon. I ain't going on Amazon. But I'm gonna put them on Amazon eventually. But it's thebookpatch.com and just do a search for Anthony Rucker or The Boogie Man. And then I have one book on relationships on Amazon called The Relationship Cookbook.
Okay.
And just Anthony Rucker, and that's on Amazon. But other than Relationship Cookbook, on Amazon, all my books are on The Book Patch. Okay. And I got multiple ones out there. I got self-help, I got daily Christian living, I have poetry, all of that stuff. So there you go.
And if anybody is in the LA area and needs 30-45 minutes on the couch, they can book appointments with you, or
I work at a private practice.
Okay.
So, you know, and I don't want to put that out.
Okay,
got you. Because I don't want people, like, if they don't like something, call your private practice.
Okay.
Although I will let people know they've threatened them, like, I don't care.
Okay.
I don't, because if you fire me for telling the truth or living my truth outside of it, and you say I got to represent you everywhere, that's a little bit too much. This ain't politics.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? And plus, I've been told I'm good at what I do. But yes, if you come to California and you get in touch with me, and I'll tell you where I work, and you can book a session. You know, but I'm telling you, if you ain't got insurance, you will be paying out of pocket, and they don't play. They will collect. So I'm just saying, they get their money.
Get your money. All right. All righty, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And everything. That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.